You're listening to Mortgage Lending Mastery. Get the knowledge you need to advance your mortgage practice quickly and efficiently from Jen DU Plessis, America's mortgage mastery mentor with over 37 years of experience and over $1 billion in lifetime fundings. Jen has been mentoring loan officers and realtors for over 15 years and speaking on stages across the globe. So settle in and get ready as Jen and her guests share their experience, passion, and strategies to help you crack the top producer code to reach new heights in your business. And now, here's your host, Jen DU Plessis, mortgage mastery mentor and head chick in charge of Kinetic Spark Consulting.
Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Mortgage Lending Mastery. I'm your host, Jen DU Plessis, and I am delighted today to have with me a guest who I'm really excited because, you know, I've been doing this podcast for 12 years now, almost 12 and a half. And I've never had a guest who has the topic that we're going to be speaking about today. And I'm really excited about this. So listen in and tune in. And I want to first say thank you so much for joining us today and taking time out of your busy day. I know many of you continue to tell me that you listen to me while you're driving to work or when you're working out or riding your bike or whatever the case may be. So, you know, thank you for continuing to share that with me. So with me today is Mr. Skylar Wallace. He has worked in the lending space for over 15 years now. He recently has been focused extensively in the mortgage lender arena. Hold on here. He has been focused exclusively as a mortgage lender, building out a team called the Level Up Lenders. And over the past years, he's grown his team to 23 employees, 8 loan officers. They funded over 2,000 units. And in 2024, they will finally be able to cross the 1,000 unit mark in a single year, which I absolutely love. Because I funded $1 billion in loans. So, you know, keep on track for that. That's what I think is awesome. In addition to that, he founded a coaching platform called Level Up Guides, where he coaches his methodology to other loan officers that are interested in building real businesses within the mortgage industry, focuses on team building, process improvement, and scale. So, and here's the biggest thing I want to say. He serves on the board for the local Chamber of Commerce and his Native American tribe minority enterprise holding company. So with that, welcome to the show, Skylar. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I look forward to it. So yeah. It should be a good time.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So, you know, in an economy where, and I know things are picking up, you know what, thank goodness, we have a little bit of a spring sprung, a little spring market for people. You know, my clients that I'm coaching, they're all getting a little more excited about this spring versus last year. But, you know, in an economy and a market, you know, where things are generally down, we're still having, you know, some of the issues that we're having. What are you doing with your team? Because we want to exude some positivity here. What are you doing with your team to keep everyone motivated, to keep the numbers going? You know, from that perspective, what are you doing? And then what are you all working on moving forward? What does some of the future hold for what you're sharing with your team?
Sure. So as far as our team goes, I think every member of my team, currently we've got 8 loan officers. There's 2 teams. So there's a husband-wife pair, and then there's one other pair. But total, there's 8 groups that are producing. I think all of us are having our best month to date, or one of our best months of all time. So generally, everyone is doing well. We don't focus on anything that we can't control. So rates and lacks of inventory and all of those things aren't anything that we talk about. The model for how we go about bringing value to the marketplace is that we only sell one thing, and that is our unique process and way of doing business. And so our loan officers are out in the market meeting with realtors and offering up our process as a way to solve problems for them. And so what we want to do is work with our, you know, realtor and referral partners and offer real value. We do a lot of things, not necessarily that are unique, but a lot of things that are designed to help the realtor grow their business. And so we now have created a pretty solid, unique value proposition. And it generally becomes just a question of, you know, obviously we do a lot of things, or we say that we do a lot of things. Would you agree that if we could execute on all of these things, that you would be silly for not doing business with us? And they agree. And then it's just a matter of, give us a shot, let us try. And sure enough, we do execute. That's the hard part. The easy part's making a lot of promises about what you're going to do. The hard part is then consistently doing it at scale. But we've got things dialed in pretty well, and we bring a ton of value, and our realtor partners really seem to appreciate it. And business has been very, very good for us. Last year we were up 40% year over year, and this year we're already up another 30% year over year. So things are growing very quickly for us. So.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And, and I think that that's really important because, you made the comment about we can't control. I think a lot of times I see and hear a lot of loan officers, realtors alike, title companies too, right? Where it's just all about, the rates are bad, and we're self-manifesting, right? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy that becomes the issue rather than what will happen later. Everyone will start saying, well, I'm going to go back to basics. And I think if basics are basic, why do we go back to them? If they're basic, let's just make them basic. And
Right.
right. And so it sounds like that's what you're doing. So one of the questions I had, so it sounds very much like something I've done in the past years. I call it the Business Booster Program for real estate agents, but we focus on listing agents, buying agents, offering them all kinds of little bells and whistles of, a value proposition, sort of an a la carte. They can tick off, the things that they want to play with us. We'll play in the same playground together with, all for the intent to help them grow their business. So having said that, is your focus primarily at this point on buying agents, or is your focus primarily on listing agents to sort of stir the pot?
Yeah, right now we focus for the most part on the buyer's agent. We don't do a whole lot with listing agents yet. We've got some ideas down the pipe, but for now, buyer's agents. We've built. The way that this model came to be, it's not anything like new that we invented. There's a pretty famous business book called Traction, written by a guy named Gino Wickman. It's a general business book. It's not anything mortgage or real estate related. But they have an operating system in there that they teach, and it's called the Entrepreneur Operating System.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more of an entrepreneur than a mortgage lender. I've got an MBA with a focus in entrepreneurship, and that's really what I enjoy. And so when I came into this business, I was viewing everything through the lens of an actual business, not anything to do with mortgage.
Yeah.
And so out of the gate, everything we chose to do was focused around how to build out a real scalable business, not, who should we target? What leads should we buy? All the stuff that you see loan officers doing when they first start was nothing that we set out to do.
Yeah.
One of the things that Traction says to do is, number one, figure out who your ideal customer is and get very, very, very crystal clear on that. And so for us, we ultimately decided our ideal customer is a buyer's agent in rural America.
Mm-hmm.
And so our goal is to become the most well-known lender in rural America. That's the mission that we've taken on. We generally stay out of cities. We're not interested in that. And so we're targeting buyer's agents that are in small towns across the country. The idea is that a lot of those towns are underserved. They don't have access to what I call a professional lender, meaning that the person that is in that community, the person there is a community bank generally.
Yeah.
And I worked for a community bank for a number of years, and community banks are great, but the community banks are funded by the local residents.
Mm-hmm.
The shareholders of the banks are the people that live there. And the number one goal of the bank is to protect shareholder value.
Mm-hmm.
It's not to increase homeownership or, find ways to get more people into homes. And so there's nobody in those communities that are actually interested in the homeownership rates. And so goes the homeownership rate, so goes the poverty levels of those communities. And so what we try and do is come into a small town. I'll go to the Census Bureau websites and pull data and see what are the actual homeownership rates? How do they compare versus the state level? What do the poverty rates look like? And then when I talk to the realtors, that's what I'm talking about is like, look, you guys currently are 15% below the state average for homeownership. I look around the community and there's a lot of rundown rentals. I would really like to partner with you and see if we can't, over a few years, increase that number by 5 to 10%. Because what happens to the overall community if we do that?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what our mission is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's our model. And then from there, after you figure out who your ideal customer is, the book, like literally Traction, the book says, the next thing you do is create a process built for them to solve as many of their problems as you can.
Yeah.
And so when we do business, everything that we do and every guarantee that we make is designed like, what can we do here to make the realtor's life better, easier, make their business stronger? Like we just do a bunch of little things. We
Those
make
are
it guaranteed.
expected extras. Yeah.
Yeah, we like a super easy thing. It costs no money. It's just a little subtle thing, but we guarantee our partners we do not send a pre-qualification letter to the home buyer unless they absolutely push us for it and demand it. Then obviously we will. But we just naturally send it to our referral partner. And why do we do that? Because we don't want them to accidentally wander and do an open house on a Saturday and get scooped up by a listing agent.
Yeah.
Flashing around their pre-qual letter. And so when that happens, the client says, yeah, I have a pre-qual letter. Let me call my realtor and I'll have them send it over. And it's just a little bitty, slight nuanced thing that makes a big difference for our buyers agents.
Yeah.
And
I don't think I've ever sent a pre-approval letter to a buyer ever.
Yeah. It's
But
not,
it's just normal. Yeah. It's just normal business. Yeah.
Yep. And so we do a number of those things all throughout. Our job is a process, doing a mortgage loan, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. And we just build in some guarantees for our partners and we try and add as much value as we can. And then, like I said, the mission for us, actually our goal is, it's not based around units or volumes or anything like that. I have a spreadsheet and I've calculated out kind of on the average how much equity is created in a property every time we close a loan. And obviously that loan's not open for a full 30 years. On the average, it's open for about 6 years. So over that 6-year period, we on the averages generate about $95,000 of equity between home appreciation and debt pay down.
Right.
And so every time we close a loan, that's another 95,000 that goes towards, wealth creation for our clients.
Yeah.
Our goal is to generate $1 billion worth of wealth for our clients, primarily in rural America.
Yeah.
And so we're going to cross over the $200 million mark this month. And so we got a long ways to go, but that's kind of the big mission that we're taking.
It's okay. You're young. Okay. So
a lot of stuff there.
Little kids. Your little kids are younger than my grandkids. So some of them. Yeah. I love that. And really what you're talking about is a mortgagepreneur. That's
Right.
really what it is a mortgagepreneur. And I love that, this podcast is focused on that. This is why it's called Mortgage Lending Mastery, because we're not just mortgage people. I'm looking at what is the future for everyone who's listening to this podcast, above and beyond, and it's what I coach on is above and beyond your business. Is that when that day comes, eventually comes where you aren't in this business, to have the skill set to be able to do something else if you choose to do it. And while you're here is make it your, and you can listen to this podcast. I don't know if you have, Skylar, listen to many of them, but I don't say your mortgage business. I say your mortgage practice, because it levels you up to a professional level.
Right.
And it is a practice. And so we want to make sure that everyone's doing that. So I love your idea. I love your concept. It's just such a different, unique perspective, but that's not all. There's another part that you do that you focus on, that has to do with you being a Native American. So tell us a little bit about that and how you have, circled around, and rallied the troops to support, the Native American community.
So that is actually what got me into my current role. So I went to college, undergrad up in Kansas City, which is about 3 hours away from where I'm from, and graduated, met my wife up there, and we lived, another 5 years after graduation. my tribe, Eastern Shawnee tribe of Oklahoma. So my grandmother has been the chief of the tribe for coming on, I think, 21 years now. And the tribe also is the majority owner of a community bank. And so they have, I think, 56% or so of ownership of the local bank in my hometown. And so the big issue the tribe always had was it's a tribally owned entity, yet they had one tribal employee, and that was it. And so they had vice president position open up. I had a little background in lending. I had worked doing mortgage loans at Wells Fargo out of college. I had some background in it, and the CEO reached out and says, your grandma would love to have you down. She was the chairman of the board as well at that time. And, they'd love to have you down for an interview. We have a position open in Seneca, where I'm from. So I know the community. It makes sense. You have a community lender that knows everyone. It's a good fit. Plus, I was tribal. And so I finally agreed. We moved back in 2013. That bank, we sent business and did business through the Federal Home Loan Bank, but we actually did not do any government-backed mortgage loans, none, other than the FHLB stuff. And so I started learning about the Section 184 program at that time. I thought it was an interesting program, but in order for us to do it, it was for our small bank, the costs and the time and the resources it would take to be able to do that was just too much of an uphill climb, and management wasn't interested. And so another local mortgage company did offer that product, and I had some friends that were loan officers there, and I said, I think at the minimum, I'd like to come over for a couple of years and see if I can't learn more about what this program is about, because I see it's a good opportunity for me. And so that was ultimately what led me over to my current company, was because I wanted to learn more about 184. I started getting more active in my tribe. I've served in a few different positions there. I was on a few years ago, they set a strategic planning committee to try and build out, the next 5 to 10 years. What is the ultimate direction we want to take for the tribe? So I was involved there. Done a little bit of consulting with them for their housing committee, trying to figure out ways to tap into things like 184. But then now, most recently, they've launched an enterprise holding company focused around 8A, underprivileged minority businesses. And so I sit on the board for that. Still thinking through, like, it's a new entity. It just launched in, I think, October. So now I'm just thinking through, like, how do I bring my background with mortgage and 184 and pair it into, the world of 8A, which is a whole other, a whole other minority opportunity there. But 184 is a fantastic program. It's, it's less down.
I've just never, it's, when you and I were talking before we scheduled the podcast itself, I was just enthralled with it. I told you my brother's in a tribe as well. And, I've just never seen anyone take advantage of the program. And I think it's just fantastic, and I mean, 4 decades, 40 years that I've been in the lending space, and I've just never seen anyone do it. So I just commend you on that. I'm proud of you for doing that, because, who else is doing it? I don't really know anybody else who's doing it in the United States.
There's a few like specialty mortgage companies that are built around 184. And then there are a couple of native owned banks that do the product, but there's a whole completely underutilized aspect of the program. 184 will actually, a tribe can get a construction loan through the 184 program, a large construction loan, $2.5, $3, $4 million to do an entire subdivision. And so the large construction loan goes to the tribe. The tribe manages the builds, and then each home, when they are completed, the debts can be broken off and assumed by the tribal member. And so then they get a one-off 184 loan. And so tribes can really, really ramp up their housing by leveraging it. But so few do. The Cherokee tribe is fairly close to me, and they have an amazing 184 program. But they're a $1 billion a year entity, and they've got coming on 500,000 tribal members. They're very large. I think they're the largest tribe in the country. And so they're able to do things like that because they have the resources for it. But most smaller tribes, mine included, just don't have the understanding of what is available through that program. There's something that over time, hopefully I'm able to make more impact at the tribal level
Well, I think you
to
will, because one of the things that is emerging right now in housing, I have another podcast called, I have three, but I have another podcast called The Future of Housing. And it's not the future of real estate, it's the future of housing. What are we going to do for housing all of these people that we have coming over the border, and the fact that we have a low housing inventory anyway. And we have this pent up demand and everything. And inflation, is
right.
taking people out of the market and everything. So, fractional lending is becoming more and more popular, fractional real estate. And this strategy, this one particular strategy that you're talking about, is really fractional lending, because they're getting a fraction of, the bigger pot. And this is going to be, there's a big pursuit right now and a big recruiting effort. My husband works for a company who does fractional financing. And, there's a big push for title companies and real estate agents and mortgage loan officers who want to participate in this, because this will be the future of lending. You're already ahead of it. You just happen to be in a different bucket. Right. But once you learn that bucket, you're going to be ahead of everybody else. So thank you again for what you're doing for the Native American community. I really think it's fantastic. So you guys are doing really well. You're serving a wonderful community. What's next for you?
So there's a few things that I'm interested in. Long term, I'm probably more suited to higher level sort of leadership position. I got my MBA a few years ago from the Walton College at the University of Arkansas. So it's Walmart's business school, basically. And most of the folks that go through that program have reached the peak of their career at Walmart. And in order to go higher, you have to get that degree. And so I have a much higher level skill set that is just kind of sitting idle, as I'm, right now, basically a small business owner. And I love what I'm doing. I love my team, but I know there's a lot more out there. I haven't quite figured out, do I want to build it myself? The thing about Level Up Lenders that I have built and grown, it's great, but I work for a mortgage company. I'm a W-2 employee, and our team is plugged in underneath that umbrella. And I don't really want to start a mortgage company because there's a whole lot of stuff that I don't enjoy. Yeah. And so it's not that what I'm building doesn't have a future, because that's not true. It's just that it's not necessarily positioned in a way where I could then build a large scale thing, right? And so I'm still trying to decide exactly what I want to do. I started coaching. I took an assessment. There's a newer assessment out there that changed my life completely. It really caused me to pivot everything that I was doing. Patrick Lencioni, who I'm sure your listeners would know. He's a business author and a consultant, and he's written books, The Ideal Team Player and The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. He's got a company called The Table Group. They put out a book a couple of years back called Working Genius. And then they created an assessment around it that's similar to DISC or Myers-Briggs, but it's your work personality, right? It's specifically in the process of work. What are the types of things that bring you joy, and what are the types of things that cause burnout and create frustration for you? And so what I recognized is that I'm very, very much high level. I'm a visionary. I live at the very top end of work. I love big picture. And I really enjoy listening to people's problems and coming up with creative solutions to help make them better. And so doing loans and living in the weeds and sitting across the desk from a client and taking an application is extraordinarily important. And I admire the people that love that so much, because I'm almost jealous of them. For me, I do not enjoy that part of the job. Yeah. And so it's not.
Yeah, you've grown past it. And I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm listening to you and I'm looking in the mirror,
Right.
that's exactly, I think that's what happens with a lot of people, especially high performing, loan officers get to the point where they're saying, okay, so just the daily minutia of getting the loan is not what pleases me. What pleases me is bringing the business in and being that finder, or that CEO, or that, the rainmaker,
And
whatever.
that's what like I love seeing. Like this month is going to be my team's biggest month of all time.
Yeah.
And what is really exciting to me is that it would be the biggest month for our team of all time, even if I closed 0 loans.
Yes.
And so that is where now, like, I look at it and I feel like, okay, we're really starting to do something interesting here. But it's not, again, like, it's not a thing where I can continue. I can sit in this seat and manage this team and have some level of somewhat passive income from it. And I will, and I enjoy that. But yeah, I started coaching, I dove in like anyone and did one-on-one. I started in October. I've now, had over 200 one-on-one coaching sessions, and I'm not great at it, but I'm much, much, much better than when I started.
Yeah.
And that is a skill set. There's a saying that I love that says, the work works on you more than you work on it,
Mhm.
meaning that as you do repetition, you get better and the work starts improving you. And so, like, doing 200 of those sessions over and over and over, and 15 to 20 of them a week, just over and over, I got better at
Yeah.
doing that. And now, I'm more interested in, group coaching, possibly even like corporate level. I mean, a lot of the stuff that my team does, mortgage companies should do.
Yeah.
if we could
Yeah.
implement it at a company level with the amount of resources that a mortgage company has, it would just grow so much faster. We're limited by capital so much, at our team level.
Oh, and
And
I think
so,
anybody is. Yeah, I think every individual loan officer is limited by, whatever capital they have, they're limited by it. Yeah, I think that, I mean, it becomes sort of a natural progression that happens in this industry. I know it did for me. I double dipped for probably 5, 6 years. I was
mhm.
coaching and doing loans, and coaching and
Yeah.
doing loans, and speaking, doing loans, and doing corporate training, just like you said, and doing loans. Until I went, okay, which one's going to be more powerful, for where I want to go in life. And that's what started my third podcast, Success to Significance, Life After Breaking Through Glass Ceilings. Now what?
Yeah.
What do
Yeah.
I
That's,
do? Right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
The neat thing about coaching, and even just going on podcasts like this, is that, like, I really am a huge fan and supporter of, small town America. I'm from a really small town, population 2,300 people. It had, 1,900 people when I graduated high school. So there's no
There's
growth.
no real
It's
growth. Yeah.
been
Yeah.
over 20 years. It's not growing. But the back in 2016, I had a 4-year-old, and we had moved back, and I lived in my hometown, and my 4-year-old got diagnosed, with stage 4, cancer.
Yeah. Mm.
And it was rough, right? But, what happened at the community level was just a staggering thing. I mean, we would go to the local restaurant, just to, grab some food or whatever. And I don't think I paid for a meal in that town for 6 months straight.
Yeah.
And just random strangers would pay our tab. And, the I would go get a haircut, and, no, don't worry. And it was just like constantly seeing a community that supported you like that. It made you realize, like, there is something here that's worth fighting for. And
Yeah. And you don't get lost in all of, being part of a city. You're just kind of
yeah, and
lost.
there's a huge push towards urbanization, and everyone's moving to cities. And, most of the legislation that comes out of Washington, it goes to cities, and there's just very little, support of rural America. And so I thought, well, the one thing that we can do is we're pretty good at closing loans. We're very good at the USDA loan. We do a lot of those. That's our, probably our top loan product.
Yeah.
And what better way to impact a community than, 0 down to a 600 credit score,
Yeah.
as long as you're also educating the importance of making good financial decisions, which we do with our clients. And it's like, I think we could really make a change here. And I feel an obligation to give back to not just my community, but small towns just across, the Midwest and the rest of the country. Because I just don't think there's a lot of people there that are focused on that. And so,
Yeah.
that led me to the Chamber of Commerce. Entrepreneurship's a passion, and entrepreneurship's the absolute lifeblood of a small town economy.
Yeah.
If you
Well,
can
I think it's the
start,
lifeblood of everything. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I live
And
in a
so,
small town too, we're on 21 acres,
yep.
middle of nowhere.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't even have a town. It's called a village. It's
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's not even a town. Yeah, it's called our village.
Yeah. And
But
and so that's, I
yeah,
mean, then if you come back to the tribal level, there's actually an interesting dynamic. So my tribe, Seneca, Missouri is where I'm from, and it like literally is on the Oklahoma border. And so right across in Oklahoma is Eastern Shawnee tribal jurisdiction. So it is, we were forcibly relocated from Ohio, and that is the little, whatever, 1,500 acres that the government said we got to go live. And that's right across the line there. And so my tribal headquarters is basically in Seneca. I mean, it's essentially right there. And so, 20 years ago, our tribe maybe had a total value, I don't know, 40 or $50 million, like, of total assets. Like it was fine, but it wasn't anything all that significant. It might have had 150 employees total. Like, it was not a big entity. Fast forward to my grandmother and her leadership, and it's well over $500 million now, in like, total assets. We have well over 1,000 employees. And if you look at that entity now, like, we have on the edge of my town, Seneca, we have a 250 room hotel resort, and casino that employs 300 or 400 people. And
yeah,
you start thinking from a tribal member perspective, it's like, 20 years ago, if the tribe didn't make it, and we made some mismanagement decisions and became insolvent, it would be a sad day, but there wouldn't be much impact on the local economy. I mean, it's not like the economy was at any risk from the tribe, but now we've become this giant thing. We employ so many people, and the bulk of the revenues coming into the local economy is coming from us and the casino. It's like, man, if we mismanage this now, it not only would bring my tribe down, but it would bring my entire
destroy
community
the whole
down.
town. Yeah,
And
yeah,
so, yeah, there's an obligation. It's like, well, my grandmother, led in building this thing. And that was the primary driver behind me getting my MBA, because I was like, well, I'm
make a
going to
contribution.
need to have high level business acumen at some point.
Yeah.
And so that is kind of like the bigger why. And it
Are you
led me
going to
into
take over the
mortgage.
tribe? Are you going to take over the tribe? Is it just natural progression, or is it a selection?
No, no, no. It's an election. It's an elected process. I actually really, really hate politics, and tribal politics are 100 times worse than
Yeah, I
regular
watch
politics.
Yellowstone. I know.
So yeah, it's I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's a different dynamic,
Everything is
because
politics. It doesn't matter. Churches are
this is
politics.
politics within family, because
Yeah,
most of the tribe were related. Like, at one point, my tribe was down to less than 40 people.
yeah,
Uh, like, that was it. That was all we had. And so now it's been built back. We're over 3,000 now, but there's an argument to be made that we're all related one way or another. And
yeah.
so you have this family dynamic, you have this political dynamic. My family has been in leadership. My grandmother's brother, so my great uncle, was the chief for 8 years before her. And so it's been, almost 30 years, at least a quarter of a century that they've been in leadership. And so I really don't like politics. I love the Eastern Shawnee Company's holding company they created, because it allows me to sit in a seat and do work that I'm actually interested in. I really love business, and
Yeah,
I don't have to be politically involved. Maybe
right.
one day, but
Today, no. Yeah,
yeah,
today, no.
not right
That's
now.
great. So do you have you've said a couple of quotes, a couple of books that, or a book that you've read, but do you have a mantra that is your guiding light on a daily basis?
Yeah, I do, and it's evolved over time, but the message has stayed the same. When actually it came about when my son was going through his cancer treatment. There's a story. If someone were to hop on Google and type in "the 3 times cancer made me cry" by Skylar Wallace, there's an article that'll come up where I wrote this. But what happened? There were 3 significant moments where I cried. The first one was when we got the official diagnosis, and it was just mostly anger. The second time I cried, we were living in a Ronald McDonald house, and like it was in a subdivision, you know, like in downtown Kansas City, and there were some houses, and I was outside, like just, you know, decompressing. We're 2 weeks into the diagnosis, and right next door was a house, and I remember like looking in the window, and there was some medical students that were in there, and they were all in their scrubs. There were like 5 of them, and they were around a table, and they had on party hats, and there was a cake on the table, and one of them was blowing out his candles, and they were having like a birthday party for him. And I just remember thinking, like, I wonder if my son will, you know, get to do that. And so then it was just like sorrow, you know, cry. And then the last time we were back home, and he'd been doing chemo, and he had a cantaloupe sized tumor on his kidney. It was massive. And the doctor had kind of like given us this warning, like, you know, don't let him be active, because if that ruptures, then that could be it. And that was kind of all he said. And I'm like, let's tell me more about what that means. Like, I'd like to know more about but there was nothing else, you know? So I'm laying in bed, just terrified. And I finally go to sleep one night, and like, I get awoken to my wife, like screaming bloody murder from the other side of the house. And I fly out of bed. And of course, you know, immediately I'm like, oh my gosh, the tumor ruptured. That's it. Like, you go into the worst place. And I'm running like down there. Right. And it's a tile floor, like to his bedroom. And all of a sudden I slip, just head over heels, hit my head on the tile. I'm like almost like knocked unconscious. I couldn't figure out what had happened. And I realized that he had gotten sick from the chemo, and he puked, and I slipped in it, and I fell in it, and I'm laying in it. And my wife is sitting with him on the floor, and I'm just groaning. I'm out of it. And they just start dying laughing because of the absurdity of the whole thing. And so the next thing I know, like, I'm dying laughing. And that was the third time. Was like, it was like tears of joy from laughing. Right. And it made me like realize there at that time, there was a song by a band called Bastille. The song is called Pompeii, and there's a quote that says, "How am I going to be an optimist about this?" And that moment, I was like, you know, like, this is a bad situation, and my 4-year-old has stage 4 cancer, and there's a million reasons why, you know, I could give up and quit my job, and I was actually in my MBA program then, and I was like, I could quit, but you know, how can I flip this and make it a positive thing? And so that was a lyric. How am I going to be an optimist about this? Is something that I would say over and over and over, and it got us through. You know, he's been in remission. It'll be, I think, 6 years this year. But
Good.
then
I was just going to ask you, how is he doing? Yes.
Yep, he's great. And more recently, there is a clip by Jocko Willink. It's just called "Good." If you Google Jocko Good speech, and it's the exact same theme, you know, that like, I didn't get the job promotion. Good. You get to get better. I didn't get accepted to college. Good. You get to, you know, focus on something else. And so how am I going to be an optimist about this, kind of like just shortened down? And now it's just good. And I try now, like I've expanded a little, and you know, I want to be good. From there, I want to do good. So I want to myself be focused on being a good person, and then I want to do good in the world and share that good with others. And then lastly, I want to find good, and I want to find other people that are also spreading that way of life, and support them and be around those types of people. And so that's kind of where it's gone. But now it's just about that. And so
I love it. I have this phrase called, you know, in our, not a phrase, but just in our lives, the early part of our years, we learn. And then the biggest chunk of our lives, we're earning, right? So we learn, right, and then we earn. And then we get to a point where we want to return, right? We want to give back into the world. And, you know, it sounds like you're teeter-tottering on that that earn, return, you know, area. And not that you don't earn while you're returning, but there is a different purpose and a different mission for, you know, every action that you're taking. It's one of the reasons why I'm in the Royal Order that I'm in, is because I am in that return phase of my life, you know. And so it's just great seeing you go there, and I know how that feels, and I know what you're trying to accomplish, and it's, you know, it's just wonderful to see. So, and I love that you have this positivity, and, you know, throughout, you know, the trials and tribulations that everyone's experiencing in today's marketplace. And, you know, you're still just saying, hey, you know, it's great. It's great over here. I know when people say, hey, it's greener on the other side of the other side of, what is it? Is greener on the other side of the fence? I don't know if
Yeah. The grass is always greener.
it's
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
greener, but then it always costs more too. So,
Sure.
that's what we have to, realize, what I call acres of diamonds, that we're standing on acres of diamonds all the time, and we just have to pick one up and polish it and see how much, grandeur it can provide for us in our lives. So I absolutely love that. It's a breath of fresh air. And Skylar, I just want to say thank you so much for being a guest on our show today. I really appreciate it. I hope your weather's getting better up there, because I know as we're recording this, it's March 14th and it's,
Yeah.
trying to be spring. It's trying to
Yeah,
be.
it's been I mean, we've had some storms, but we're in the 70s. It's
Oh, wow.
nice.
Yeah. Well, I'm
So,
originally from Colorado, and they're supposed to get a foot of snow.
uh,
So
yeah, no,
I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go.
not here. Well,
It's
thank you so much for having me on. I
Oh,
appreciate the opportunity so
of
much.
course.
So,
So, I just want to, again, thank you, Skylar. Thank everybody for listening. Thank you for listening and spending time with us today. And, be sure to check out Skylar. We have all of his links below in the show notes. So you can learn more about him, connect with him if you want, pick his brain. Perhaps he'll let you do that. Again, go to YouTube and subscribe to our channel so that you can get this and all the podcasts that we're doing. And we look forward to catching you on the next time of Mortgage Lending Mastery.
Thanks for listening to Mortgage Lending Mastery. Be sure to subscribe to hear more sales tips, ideas, strategies, and tactics to help you with your personal and professional growth to multiply your results in record time. And if you like what we're doing, don't forget to give us a rating and review so we can continue to bring you the best content possible. Wanting more beyond the podcast? Join our Mortgage Lending Mastery membership community, where you will find extended interviews with our favorite guests, weekly training, tips, and insider secrets, fireside chats with Jen, free content, meet, share, and collaborate with other members, and so much more. Click the link in the show notes to learn more about this exclusive content. Mortgage Lending Mastery is an Industry Syndicate charter podcast. Industry Syndicate is the first podcast network specifically for the mortgage and real estate industries. Get the Industry Syndicate app in the App Store or Google Play today.